Well. Meta is in hot water again. Looking at an article here from Reuters, Meta used AI to target workers with medical conditions for layoffs, lawsuit claims. I'll quickly read it, then we're going to go over it. July 14th, 26 employees of Meta Platform have filed a novel lawsuit accusing the tech giant of using AI-powered software that disproportionately targeted people with disabilities or who took medical leave in selecting workers for mass layoffs. The plaintiffs, who were notified in May that their jobs would be eliminated starting on July 22nd, are seeking a preliminary ruling from the court blocking Meta from completing the layoffs while they pursue their claims in private arbitration. A Meta spokesman on Tuesday said the claims lack merit. Of course they did. Workforce management and organizational decisions were and are made by people, not AI, the spokesman said. The lawsuit appears to be the first against a major U.S. company to challenge the alleged use of AI in conducting layoffs. Meta laid off 10% of its global workforce in May, or nearly 8,000 people, and was planning on more job cuts later this year, Reuters has reported. CEO The Zuck has since said that he does not expect any more company-wide layoffs this year. They always say that. The changes are part of a far-reaching overhaul as the company increases its AI investments and centers AI agents in both its product offerings and its approach to work internally. The 26 plaintiffs, who filed the lawsuit anonymously, are accusing Meta of violating federal and state laws that ban discrimination or retaliation against workers who have disabilities, take medical leave, or are pregnant. They also claim that Meta failed to test its AI systems for bias in violation of recently adopted California and New York City laws. According to the complaint, Meta used a number of internal AI-assisted systems to score and rank employees on a termination list. Those included MetaMate, a large language model assistant, an employee-trained second brain that tracked employees' communication and documents, and a productivity score drawn from scanning keystrokes, screen content, emails, and browser history. All right, now let's look at what's actually going on here. So to recap, you have some Meta employees that were laid off who have filed a lawsuit against Meta after being laid off because they're saying that their productivity was only down because they took medical leave due to various illnesses or maternity leave or whatever. And what they're saying is that the AI software that is calculating who's working and who's not, or who's productive, is not accounting for people being out sick for medical leave or disabilities or maternity leave or whatever. And to give you a practical example of what's going on here, you have two employees, one worked the entire month, one was out for 2 weeks due to some medical reason. When the AI does its analysis, the one who was at work is going to show as more productive. Now, there's a bias there, obviously, everyone can see that. So from our perspective, from the worker's perspective, it looks like, the company's not accounting for me being out. That's not fair. But I would say the company knows exactly what it's doing. If the company wants to find out who's productive, then people who are not working that month or that week are not being productive in their eyes, right? So, there's almost this opinion where it's like, well, they don't know what they're doing. They forgot to add the bias or the metric to not count people that are out. They know what they're doing. Because in their eyes, if you're out, you're not working, you're not being productive. Meta responds, of course, by saying workforce management and organizational decisions were and are made by people, not AI. Of course, they're going to say that, and you got to think about it. How many companies today are using AI to handle the hiring process? But so we know that companies are using them for hiring. Why not assume that they're also using them for letting people go or firing people? Now, they'll say workforce management, the decisions are made by people, not AI. But the people can ultimately decide who to let go after the AI gives them the information of who's not being productive. And it's funny when you think about it because you get all these perks whenever you sign up for a job. You get your medical leave, your paid time off, sick time, maternity leave, all these benefits, A lot of them, the only reason you have them is because they're federally protected by laws. But, you get these benefits, and then when you use them, you find yourself sort of screwed. Anyone who's ever taken a vacation or went to a nice place, you told your coworkers, hey, I'm going to this place, I'm going to Hawaii, I'm going to this trip. And then you come back and you're almost punished for it. Either you get a bunch of extra work, your workload increases when you come back, or there's like a general sort of snarkiness that people have because you were out and they were not. You'll come back and they'll say, I hope you're well rested. You know what I mean? You're not going to be, you're back in the fire with us. Ha ha ha. that kind of stuff. It's just ironic. You get these benefits and you can't actually use them. And then the other thing down here is, they got their MetaMate and their second brain. And a productivity score drawn from scanning keystrokes, screen content, emails, and browser history. So not only does the metric have a bias because they're not accounting for people that are out sick or whatever the case may be, but also they're judging your productivity based on your keystrokes, right? So you're getting screwed in two ways. Not only are you getting screwed if you take time off, but also the metric that they're using to actually judge you on whether you're an efficient employee or not, or a productive employee or not, isn't even accurate, because keystrokes and screen content don't define what a good employee is. And it's interesting too to think that, Meta is one of the largest, most successful companies on earth. If they're judging their employees this way, what's to stop your company eventually from incorporating these systems? Meta has a lot of money. They can pay for some quality talent. You're telling me one of their managers can't make the decision on whether people on their team are being efficient or not, productive or not? You're relying on keystrokes. It's not making sense. It doesn't make sense. This entire article is a mess. Everything about it. The way that they're getting the metrics, what they're saying they're not doing. We're not using AI to let people go. People are making those decisions. The HR person ultimately decides. And then the fact that they're even analyzing and surveilling their workforce based on keystrokes. It's all a mess. And shout out to California and New York City for these laws that they recently adopted. And that's the thing too. AI is advancing so quickly that we as workers and as humans will always be sort of chasing after AI, trying to put guardrails on it. But this is exactly how you do it. So what do you do here? What can you do here? I would say this is exactly what you do. If you get terminated for some unlawful reason where you think there's discrimination for any reason, even if it's against your federally protected benefits as a worker, then file a lawsuit. If you get terminated with coworkers, team up, file a lawsuit together. And the other thing is discussions. People need to communicate about this stuff. Talk about it. Leave a comment. Tell me if this happened to you or if anyone that you know or whatever the case may be. Only when you communicate about this stuff and you get it out there are companies going to have more of a microscope on them to where they're not going to try stuff like this. So this lawsuit's good. I'm happy they're doing this. Whether it works or not, doesn't matter. The fact that this is being put on Reuters and people are learning about it, reading about it, is good. So that's my take on this article. If you got your own opinion you want to share, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Share a different story like this that you heard about or whatever. Get the discussion going. Only when we discuss this stuff can we actually, do something about it. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to make more videos like this discussing this kind of stuff. So